Welcome everybody to another installment of Opinions Are Stupid. Me and my guest, and my host, my co-host, Jason. I remember calling you a guest once, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So, getting this show on the road, we had some. I'm gonna close my window.
Little activity across the river.
A lot of emergency activity here. The hell's going on? This has been all day, by the way. Fire engines, cops, loud motorcycles. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
People are losing it.
Yeah, I guess. I'm gonna try to see if adjusting my helps a little bit. And
you got it out of focus.
It's a little out of focus, but it clamps in a minute. Let me see. There we go. So tomorrow, today's the 21st, tomorrow's the 22nd. Actually, tonight, Dune premieres on HBO Max. And I know that we were talking about some various situations and stuff as far as summer fall movies are concerned. There are a few fall movies that we can talk about. I know that have you seen The Sopranos yet?
I did. I wasn't impressed, to be honest with you.
Well, I think
so there's not much to talk about because I wasn't impressed. Where is Tony? What's the that type of thing?
Yeah, I was learn about Tony Soprano, and you're like, where's Tony? There's like 5 minutes of Tony.
Right.
But I think the whole point of that was HBO wants these to be event movies for the channel, and they'll put them in the theater, but they're already talking about another one. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing.
So event movies meaning to build a world around Tony Soprano, or to just kind of show little snippets of these characters? Because if you build a world, then it becomes like, are people gonna really care? You know what I'm trying to say? Because people like Tony. The other characters are cool, but they really care about Tony. You know what I'm saying?
Everyone cares about I told you the story about the guy who created it, David
Chase.
David Chase. Is it Chase?
Yeah.
I think it's Chase.
Isn't it Chase?
I think it's Chase. Is it Chase?
David Chase. David Corre.
He's the Chase. David Chase. I could look it up.
Oh, look at this background, folks. I
had to get rid of the background because that blurb makes me nuts.
Elegance. This is what we call elegance.
Elegance. With the fighting robots in the back. Hold on a second. Creator.
So I'm glad I chose this background because we're talking about world building and creations. This is the perfect theme for this.
Of Soprano.
Wasn't it Chase?
Tony Soprano. David Chase, yeah. So David Chase created The Sopranos, and his biggest thing was, I hate him. He hated Tony Soprano, the character,
right.
Not the actor, of course. But he hated him, and he was like, how come every time we make him do something terrible, people still like him? And the idea is, they liked him, David, because you created this guy who, even though was evil, right? Because Tony Soprano was evil. People still see themselves in him. So it's that realization of who this person is and how he's working through his life and shit. And it's like, you don't want even though he's a bad guy, you don't want him to lose.
Right. And he was interesting, and I found him interesting because he had so many different lives. You know what I'm trying to say? He was a family guy when he had to be the family guy, but he was a killer when he had to be the killer. There was this kind of like, he had multiple personalities in a sense, you know what I'm trying to say, that would kick in whenever he needed it to kick in. And I think people relate to that because, when you're at work, you're a certain person. When you're at home, you're a certain person. When you're hanging out with family, you're a certain, everybody has to play those roles. And he was just those roles in like a perfect character that had to do them all at the same time. So that's why at least that's why I found it interesting.
It was imperfect, but it was perfect in its imperfection, right? That's what some of the things that I think people say. So so I'm kind of glad. I found it fascinating. It's going to be one of those movies that if I have it on again at some time, my camera's really having a hard time with me right now. I don't know why that is. That I would watch it again. I've been to do a little bit of research before the beginning of the show. The beginning of the watching that show. I went online and I saw a couple of those videos that people make for YouTube, and like the top 10 deaths in Sopranos, the top watch this, you know, the best,
Right.
you know, whatever The Sopranos. And I gotta tell you, some of those, the top 10 deaths, some of them were pretty freaking awesome. You know,
Right.
like when you know when he killed. Oh my God! I hope everything's all right. This is like the third. The third
Is
thing everybody's running.
Tony Soprano outside as we speak.
Yeah, Tony Soprano. That's like killing people as we speak. You know, but the top 10 like this, and they were remember introducing every time they introduce a character, you're like, this guy is gonna die.
Right.
And
Right.
this guy, every time the new cousin or somebody shows up, it's like,
It was kind of like Star Trek. You know, the new guy went to the planet. He was gonna die all the time. So you knew that something was not gonna go well with
yeah,
that.
right.
It's the same
The
idea.
new guy goes to the planet, or if the new girl goes to the planet, you know she's gonna fall in love. And if the new guy goes to the planet, you know he's gonna die, or something like that. You know.
Right.
But anyway, I like.
Were you
I like
into the?
Spacey.
Were you into the phenomenon when it came out? Were you like? Because I think I was in college, and I was so kind of busy at the time that I caught it later on. You know what I'm trying to say? I wasn't like in the beginning of the whole world.
So,
Like,
oh, excuse me. I'll tell you my Soprano stories. Want to hear my Soprano story? So,
shoot.
Soprano comes out. I'm not watching it.
Right.
Whole year goes, not watching it. Right, not watching it. And this wasn't on demand. Didn't really exist back in '93 or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
90.
You have autofocus on. Wait, is
don't
that
know
what it's
what's
doing?
going on.
Autofocus?
Yeah,
I'm just curious. I'm just curious why. Because you're not doing anything crazy.
but I'm moving. Oh, now it seems to be okay. All right. Yeah. So what I didn't watch. I wasn't watching it. And then what happened was someone's dead.
It's nonstop.
Someone's dead. So then what happened? This guy that I know that I was working with was like, "Have you been checking out Sopranos?" And I was like, "Not really." And he's like, "Well, maybe you should check it out because it's good." All right. So what I think I don't know if somebody gave me the discs or if I just started watching it. Like I started HBO started running it, so I just started watching it and I was taping them because I didn't want to miss it. And they did this thing.
Yes.
They do this thing where they
Because
put them
before,
all at
folks, he
once.
had to have a VCR plus play record at the same time and make sure he could record these on a tape. Just so people understand, in case a millennial stumbles upon this, it says record. What does that mean?
I
You
had
didn't have a DVR back then.
I did. Oh,
did
later
you?
on I had one, but yeah. So it was like, it's on. So put in a channel, right? And you had to have the channel on because if you didn't have the channel on, forget about it. You know, but no, I think that it was a combination of stuff that I was doing to watch it. So I watched all of it, and then I was at the end, season one. The end of season one, I was like, oh my God. And that was it. Like I was hooked for the rest of the thing. But it was really great. Like it was great. I find it really hard to believe how incredibly almost impossible it was to catch things on HBO or any of those channels. You had to have like 30 of the, you know how they had 8 HBO channels?
Yeah.
They had to rerun stuff. You know what I mean? They do marathons on the other channel. HBO Zone marathon. Season 1 of Sopranos. You're like, oh, season 1 of Sopranos on HBO Zone. I'll tape it all there. Or whatever. Now it's like, yeah, I'm just going to watch it whenever.
Right.
The analog solution has been kicked out the door. All right, so I'm looking forward to Sopranos. There's also some news today that came out about sequels. Sopranos is going to get a sequel, and it looks like King Kong versus Godzilla is going to get a sequel.
Really? I didn't hear this news. Meaning because they made enough money, because you were worried that they didn't make enough money to continue this.
Well, I think that they've taken a different track. Remember the MonsterVerse idea was like, and now we're going to introduce King Kong, and now we're going to introduce so and so, and now this is but Toho also has is holding on to some of these characters, and they're supposed to be Toho's premiering a short film of Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Nice, I'm there.
Supposedly this week. So if you're a Godzilla fan and you like Hedorah, and who doesn't like some Hedorah in their lives? Be able to check it out.
Disco scene and the disco scene. Remember the disco scene? Come on, who doesn't like that?
Save the earth. Save. It was fun.
So it's a short that's coming out where?
Maybe look it up.
Is it? No, but I thought it was like HBO Max or something. The way you
No, probably online.
Okay. So it's something we have to search. It's not coming out like in a streaming service or anything like that.
Hold on. Godzilla vs. Ghidorah short to stream on November 3rd. And this is
November
Anime
3rd.
News Network. CBR, Godzilla Anniversary Short brings back the King of Monsters' weirdest foe. So November 3rd, keep an ear to the ground. You can check that out. It's going to be free. Good. And there's, by the way, I saw a fan film of Godzilla versus Gamera. Pretty tight.
Pretty tight. So they did it like slow, like the old school days, kind of, or anime, kind of like animation.
It was like it was anime. It was a 3D animation, but it was pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
I say, big explosion.
Well, we have the technology. Yeah. We have the technology. I mean, the new iPhone basically. I don't understand why you're having so much issues with like track focus, because the new iPhone basically does it on its own at this point. Have you seen the new feature? It basically does track focusing, which is one of the big things that people would talk about creating movies on their phone. But like that would always be the problem, because you would have to like buy extra software, buy whatever. But now it does it on its own. So I think now we're really going to get into this world where, you know, you can shoot a movie from your phone. You know what I'm trying to say? Like you can do it before, but now it's like they're basically throwing all the bells and whistles in it that you don't have to like get other software for it.
The thing, I think that the biggest thing, track focus, sure, but I think the biggest thing with iPhones was audio. Was getting a proper audio track. And that's why you had people taking their big microphones and setting them up on those iPhone like racks and stuff. And then, you know, having the two racks and stuff, shooting it that way. I mean, I could shoot, you could, with you know, what is it? 512? With 512 gigs, you could shoot a movie easy. On your phone.
Did you ever see that commercial they made of the snowball fight? It's a great commercial. Apple commercial.
I've seen the snowball fight commercial, but that was the iPhone.
It's a great
that was the iPhone 12, not the 13.
Right? No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So now you got more memory. Now you got better, you know, video quality. You got better, you know, tracking, like we said. So it's just
three
to the point where you can do this.
3 phones, do 3 camera shots.
Yeah.
Edit it in on your fucking computer. You can easily do it. It's not that big of a deal. But you know, that's what's going on. So there's that, and I think that Warner Brothers. First of all, I don't know what's going on at Warner Brothers. I really don't know. I mean, are they part of AT&T now? Are they not part of AT&T now? Who knows what's going on?
Yeah,
I don't know. But what I'm hoping will happen is that AT&T will spin them off. Like they said, they already have. It's part of something else. But what I think is going to happen is, like, Warner Brothers as a movie and IP house, right? Will somebody's gonna buy them. I think it's gonna be like Netflix, or Apple, or you know, maybe even Amazon will just purchase them outright. And if they do, first of all, any of those places would be a good fit for them, because they're a content house. Like Disney bought Marvel, and they were like, "What do you want to do? You want to just make a lot of movies?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, we want you to make more than that. Whatever you thought you were gonna make, double it, because that's what we want from you, right?" Same thing with Star Wars, and they didn't do so well. They didn't do so well with Star Wars. All right, we're gonna just see if we can just fix this, because this is ridiculous.
No, I don't.
It could also be. Ooh.
Whoa, look at this.
Crazy. Oh my God.
Infrared, its predator has entered the building.
Let's see if that works. A little better. All right. No. I have a lamp that changes color. And it's changing color now.
That was green.
Yeah, it's green.
It's kind of...
Now it's blue.
It's a little bit of Silence of the Lambs when he's checking them out in the night. Remember that scene?
Too bright. Too more right. Oh, wait.
Bright light.
Yeah, bright light. So it's that kind of a thing. I'm hoping that that's going to change, and they'll be able to figure something out for everybody, and they'll be able to be a content house with a home. Because right now they're a content house without a home. So Dune.
Yes. So Dune is coming out this weekend. I'm going to see it, you know, probably Saturday or Sunday. Like I explained to you in the past, you have to break this world down to me so myself and anybody who's watching can understand. Because back in the day when this movie came out, in 82 82, 83 around there it came out roughly.
85,
Maybe
86.
made it around there. Okay, so it was a little, but when it came out, I wasn't old enough to go to the movie theaters, you know. So I saw it on channel 11, WPIX back in the day. So it was like 3 hours long, but it was chopped up, you know, between the 8 to 10 because that's how they had to chop it up pretty much. And I didn't know if it was the editing that made it bad for me or just, you know, I didn't buy Sting as an actor maybe, or, you know, Kyle MacLachlan's first role maybe, and he didn't know, you know, how to carry a film. Whatever was going on, I wanted to see more worms destroying things, and I didn't see it. And as a kid, I was upset, and that kind of threw me off, basically.
Okay, so let me first of all let me explain to you the earlier version of Dune that you saw, based on the Frank Herbert book, the first book. Frank Herbert wrote a few books. I'm not entirely sure how many. I'm not that big of a Frank Herbert fan. He wrote the books, but the books that are part of the Paul Atreides Muad'Dib story, which is what we're seeing this time, is based on Dune, Children of Dune, and God Emperor of Dune. And in these books, Dune, Children of Dune, and God Emperor of Dune, Paul Atreides is a man, or actually he's like 18 when it happens, who is the son of Duke Leto Atreides, and they live on a planet called not Arrakis. It's called something else. All right, hold on.
Atreides is Kyle MacLachlan back in the day.
Yeah, Atreides is Kyle.
Okay.
Paul is Paul Planet. Paul is from.
And the only reason why I even know Kyle MacLachlan is because he was in Twin Peaks when I was kind of like understanding TV shows. So I was into Twin Peaks, and then I just stumbled upon Dune.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, it's the Dune that was made. Okay, so that the 1986 Dune. Oh, now you got to take me all this. I'm going to talk a little bit about that story before I tell you the actual story. So, the movie was made by David Lynch, right? David Lynch, Dune, in 1984, released in 84, and it is a weird freaking movie because it's based on a weird book. So, Dune itself, the story takes place 10,000 years, 10,000. No, a millennia. It's like the year is 1084 or some shit. And this is after things have collapsed, rebuilt, collapsed again, rebuilt again. And what happens is there's all these things vying for power in the galaxy, in our galaxy.
That I got.
And there is a bunch of different people. One of them is the Bene Gesserits, that are kind of like these women that have specific power, mental and physical power, and they are trying to create a super being.
They were like goddesses or something, right?
The super being is called the Kwisatz Haderach. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Got that.
Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, I remember that.
Super being.
They put Kyle MacLachlan's hand in that box.
Right. We'll get to that.
I'm
sure
it's all coming back.
Hold on.
It's all coming back.
So to do this, what they do is they take the bloodlines of various planets that are of houses that are based on planets, right? And Atreides is a house, and the other house is
Montagues and the Capulets.
Based kinda, but not the same.
Just breaking it down to the Shakespeare world, people, in case you're into that.
All right. The other house is Harkonnen, the House Harkonnen. And their planet is called they come from a planet called Giedi Prime. Okay. So Caladan, Giedi Prime, Dune, right? Okay. Bene Gesserits are creating a super being. What they want to do is they want to mate the houses together to close a gap that will then create a super being. The super being is going to be female because they can control females, right?
Okay.
And what they were going to do is they're going to have Jessica have a girl with Duke Leto Atreides. She's his consort. She's not his wife, although he never took a wife because he fell in love with Jessica. And they have a son. Well, the Bene Gesserits find out they have a fucking son, and they're like, "What are you doing? This is wrong. This is this is not the plan. You're supposed to have a daughter, so she gets married to the Harkonnens and close this gap. Blah blah blah. So
Right.
she's like, well, he really wanted a son.
Right. I kind of remember that the original. Yeah,
And
yeah.
they were like, what?
But
So to
like
test
his mother
him,
was upset. Right.
right. But here's the thing. His Jessica is like, my son, Paul, is gonna have problems with the Bene Gesserits. So let me
Right.
teach him some of the mental stuff that he would need to survive this kind of bullshit. And one of the
Gotcha.
things he teaches them is the linear fear, which is basically meditation. I will not fear. Fear is a mind killer. Blah 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 blah. You can look it up, guys. I'm not going to do it now. It's crazy. But you could use the litany of fear to wash your hands because it takes 10 seconds. Better than singing Happy Birthday 3 times. So the Bene Gesserits, right? They come to Lady Jessica and they're like, we got to make sure he's not an animal. And by doing that, they have to do the mental trick of putting his hand in the box. And the box, there's nothing in the box. But when he asks what's in the box, she tells him pain. Okay. So he puts his hand in the box. He realizes that if he takes his hands out, he will be killed because they're using the gum javar they put in the neck.
Right. Right.
Which is cool. All that shit's cool. It's the mysticism part of Dune, the fantasy part of Dune is the cool part of Dune.
Yeah, I agree.
The technology stuff is also fantasy. So it's kind of like this merge. And if you think about it, it's when maybe George Lucas stole some of this shit for Star Wars. So
Right.
So what happens is the planet, the Emperor Leto and House Atreides is getting more and more popular, and Duke Leto's like, shit, more and more popular. This is problematic. I know. Let me send this motherfucker to Dune. I'll get rid of the current the Harkonnens, get him out, and put him there, and therefore the Harkonnens and the Atreides, who already hate each other a lot, they'll just, and it's also the Harkonnens, he doesn't like the Harkonnens either that much, they'll just cancel themselves out, and I'll send a new house there to take care of Dune. What makes Dune special?
The spice.
The spice. On Dune, there are these giant things called sandworms. Sandworms eat spice, die, and become spice.
Right.
There's this like crazy circle of life there. On the planet as well, there's a bunch of people who are living there called the Fremen. And the Fremen, like, they've been harvesting water because they want to turn Dune into a paradise. And they're not telling anybody about this. But they're also the only people that mine spice. And the Harkonnens hate them. So they're constantly trying to exterminate the Fremen. And when they leave to let Luke Leto and his people on, Leto knows that it's a matter of time before the Harkonnens decide to attack him. And now there's a prophecy.
So
the
all
prophecy
this,
is
and we haven't hit the
someone's going to
prophecy.
come to Dune and deliver the Fremen into this paradise. And who is this guy? Nobody knows. But we know that we figured out it's Paul, who takes the name Muad'Dib, and that's only the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie that you're seeing that Denis Villeneuve made isn't even made yet. They have a script, but they don't have any money because Warner Bros. Like, take it easy. Let's release this one first, see how it does. But since it did so well all in Europe and in other parts of the world, they're already ready to make the second sequel, which sounds really exciting. My son saw it and thinks it's fantastic. So
they wanted to make
story. Yes, there's a lot.
So they wanted to make this a standalone, and then if it worked, make a part 2 kind of thing. Is that what they were thinking?
Not a standalone. This movie was supposed to release last year at Christmas. Remember?
Right, I do remember this.
And they kept pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back because of COVID
and all that.
Finally, it's out, but it's been rolling out slowly over the world, kind of like what they did to Bond, and it's doing really fucking great. Like, it's doing very, very well. They think it might beat Bond at this point, which I find a little weird because you're not going to beat it if you're fucking releasing it on HBO Max too. But whatever.
Right.
We'll see how that works. I find their whole thing of releasing everything together kind of stupid because why wouldn't you just, release Matrix Generation for the Matrix movie at Christmas for 2 weeks and then let it come on to HBO? You know what I'm saying? Like, give it some breathing.
I know what you're saying.
Get some money out of people.
Right, I agree. But this is the future. Trying to launch these streaming services. This is the way to do it.
Well, I guess the story itself becomes kind of weird because what ends up happening is Paul is a super being. You know, I'm not giving anything away. If you've seen the original Dune, if not, if you read
Right.
books, he's a super being. So starts to work to become the new seat of power in the universe, in the galaxy, or the universe, whoever. And I mean, there's lots of layers that I'm not talking about. I haven't said anything about the Guild Navigators. I haven't said anything about, you know, basically the Emperor is a figurehead, and commerce it's what controls the galaxy. So
Right.
the company called Chom, I gotta tell you, Chom Dune Wiki, Chom, CHOAM, also known as the Combine Horneti Uber Advancer Mercantilis. That's Chom. And Chom, you know, essentially controls the economic affairs across the cosmos. Although it relies upon the Spacing Guild, because they're the transportation device, across space due to the guild's monopoly on fast and light travel. So fast and light travel in Dune is basically teleportation. Once you put all your shit on a big ship, and the big ship folds. And the way they do it is through the magic of the guild navigators that basically eat spice, right? They keep eating spice, and then they use the spice to fold space. How they do it?
That's pretty. Well, isn't that part of the like time code? What theory is that? Where you're folding space, you're not really flying in space. You're just kind of folding the space around you. There is a theory on that. Yeah, yeah, but there's a specific theory that mentions.
Yeah,
I don't know. I forgot.
There's the wormhole theory. There's a couple different theories that explain that, but basically, you know, what is it like?
You're not flying technically.
You're not
the space
flying.
around you is collapsing.
You're moving yourself through another dimension,
right?
You know, but you're doing it very quickly. And it's in Star Trek, you basically create a warp bubble. Oh my god, such a nerd. You create a warp bubble, and you use that outside of space to get yourself through from one place to another. In Star Wars, it's hyperspace, so basically is just another version of the wormhole. It's just all of them are different versions of the wormhole. It's just like a river that takes you quicker through space time.
Right. You know? Right. You're just jumping. You're jumping through these spaces by using this highway kind of thing that takes you there quicker. Right.
Time Bandits. Anyway.
Right. Time Bandits. Another great movie. So the worms don't. Two questions. The worms don't really have a big impact. I mean, yes, they're creating the spice, but in the movie, like as a kid, I wanted to see these worms, you know, like Godzilla. Like, in my head, I'm thinking that like Godzilla is gonna destroy things and like come out the ground. And
they do. Up. But it's very dangerous to mine spice.
Right.
Because worms eat things that make vibrations.
Right.
So any basic vibration that happens, these guys got to drill and get spice out as quickly as they can. They get there's these carriers that fly around and pick up these spice mining things before the worms come and eat them. And the worms are gigantic.
Yeah, they're huge.
The sandworms in Dune are huge, and huge. They're huge, and they come and they eat the spice mining situation, and it's really kind of crazy.
Right. So and whoever controls the spice world
controls the universe.
Dune controls the universe. That's why it's such a powerful thing. And Dune is the only place that has the spice. There's no other place that has it. That's why it's so central.
That's it. Only place. There.
Gotcha.
On Dune. Only place. So that's the whole story. I mean, yeah, there's like other stuff in there. There's, you know, like I said, there's like, you know, all the stuff. Like there's Raban the Beast, and you know the character you're talking about, Sting. Fade Ralpha is not in this version of the movie.
Oh, no Sting.
We won't see Fade. We might not see Fade until the second movie, maybe the third. I don't know how they're even doing this.
Who's the fat guy, the big guy with the tubes in him? Remember that big guy that used to have? That's who you're talking about. That's his name.
Yeah.
And what is his role? Who is he? Baron.
He's the bad guy. He's Baron Harkonnen. Well, in Dune, Baron Harkonnen is the guy who runs the Harkonnen like house. And you know, he's just, you know, fat and nasty.
Yeah,
It
he's
takes
like
oil.
there's like mucus and stuff around,
Yeah,
right?
when,
Like
when they
whatever. Right.
when the way they explained the way they did Dune, the David Lynch, not David Byrne, David Lynch stuff was kind
Yeah.
of like, um, Caladan was clean and beautiful, right, and full of water, and Getty Prime is like an industrial planet that still uses oil for some reason. Like, I don't understand how the future would use oil. Like, let's burn
Right.
oil. It's like, why would you burn oil? It's in the future. It doesn't make any sense. Um, but it's kind of like a dirty shithole, and Caladan is a beautiful paradise, and they fight. They're just basically the thing. So Frank Herbert, right, wrote this stuff. Well, I'm sure taking a lot of fucking LSD. Um, there's a whole lot of basic story understandings here, that could happen, like you said, the Capulets and the Romeo and
Montague.
Juliet, Montagues, and
Right.
all these, like, evil good stuff that kind of like gets pressed in together. But what makes Dune interesting is the kind of like, you know uh, intrinsic interest of the main character, because he's a superhero, right? Paul
Right.
Paul is already a super being before he gets there. Like, he already is incredibly powerful before he gets to Dune. But once he starts eating spice, and you can't avoid spice because it's in the fucking air.
Right. Right.
It's
Right. I
everywhere.
remember that
It's in
part.
the air.
Right.
People breathe it. And you get addicted to it. You got to keep. Once you have it, you have to keep eating it.
Right.
uh, it changes him to make him even more powerful. And
The
then the
blue
more
eyes.
spice
Hence
he
the blue
eats,
eyes.
he transforms into a giant worm.
Right. Is that true? I don't remember that,
In the books.
in the books.
In the books. And his sister, who is pregnant, Lady Jessica is carrying because Paul and her had one last night of sex. Is also transformed because there's this thing called the water of life. So when Paul like, so the oh my God, I'm spinning. So in the books,
See, it's more complicated than it seems.
In the
That's
books.
why
right in the books, the Bene Gesserits consume this thing called the water of life, which is basically liquefied spice.
Right.
And if you drink it, and you're a Bene Gesserit, you can become a Reverend Mother because all your senses are open. Like, you're telepathic. You're not telekinetic. It's all about the word and the control of people through the use of the word and the use of the voice. Sorry, and the voice is basically this extenuated like thing that they use to like control people. So, it's fucking Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah, I was about to say, sounds familiar. Who knew?
Yeah, well, I kind of knew. After I read the book, I was like, Star Wars?
Dune, Star Wars.
So I mean, it's not, they don't have telekinesis or anything, but they're able to control people, and once that happens, and then Paul realizes that he has to take the water too, and the water transforms him as well, and it makes him finishes his command of becoming, he has to become the worm to become the ultimate super being, but it's on his way, that isn't his final form, and then
right, reincarnation type of thing.
Well, he doesn't reincarnate, he just
I guess like a butterfly kind of thing, like a caterpillar stage.
Yeah, except he turns into a worm.
Right, it goes the opposite way.
Giant fucking worm.
Yeah. Now, while you were, go ahead.
Go.
No, finish.
Well, when Jessica drinks the water of life, the baby gets like given the fucking powers of the Bene Gesserit. So her daughter, whatever her name is, fucking has the power of the Bene Gesserit, and she's able to like use the voice and all kinds of shit. And she gets born early, but she's born early with all these powers, so it's kind of like murder baby.
Interesting. So while you were mentioning that, I had to Google David Lynch, and this guy has a career and a half. I mean, it started in the 60s, but like just from 1977 with Eraserhead, and then Elephant Man, and then Dune, and then Blue Velvet. Just that string of movies alone makes a career. And then he goes on to do Twin Peaks,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mulholland Drive. Like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
stop. You know what I'm trying to say? And he's doing all sorts of things. He's not just he's doing shorts. He's doing short films and documentaries. I mean, this is a pretty cool career to have when you look at this guy's, I look at this guy's bio.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got Twin Peaks that the new came out in 2017. Did you see this? I kind of remember it. I just never really got to see it. I guess they did a remake of it.
Showtime version, the Showtime.
Yeah, I remember it, but I never got to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either. I watched Twin Peaks religiously.
The original.
Yeah, I watched it religiously.
Right. Did they ever finish it? I mean, I remember watching as a kid, so I didn't really like understand all of it. But did they finish it? Did they complete the series? Did they discovered who killed Sarah Paul?
What happened with well, first of all, let me just say something about David Lynch. I think he's awesome.
Right.
And the way the thing about Dune is Dino De Laurentiis and the De Laurentiis family wanted him to make Dune, and he was like, I don't want to make Dune. I want to make this little movie, Blue Velvet. And they're like, okay, listen, make Dune, and then we'll let you make Blue Velvet. He's like, but I don't want to make Dune. He's like, look, make Dune, and we'll let you make Blue Velvet. And this is right after he made The Elephant Man for Brooks Films, from Mel Brooks' company. And Elephant Man is fantastic. If you haven't seen Elephant Man,
it's great.
It's a great movie.
And he wrote the screenplay too. I didn't realize he wrote it.
But based on the original play.
Right.
You know. Yeah. So they were like, well, okay. So he finally says yes. He makes Dune, and he's like, eh. But all his actors that are in Dune end up being in Blue Velvet, and also end up being in Twin Peaks.
Right.
All the actors, except for Dennis what's his
Hopper. Dennis Hopper was in Twin Peaks.
Right. Mommy. I love that. I love that movie, man. Wait, what? You want a beer? You want a beer, friend? You want a beer, brother?
Right.
Yes, I like a beer. Do you have Michelob? Michelob, fuck that. Pack Blue Ribbon. You haven't seen Blue Velvet recently.
And you look at his bio, it never ends. He's doing something every year.
He's insane.
I mean, it's crazy.
No, it's crazy shit.
From 1966, he's either writing or directing straight through every year. He gets a credit until like this year. You know what I'm trying to say? It's insane.
Yeah, Eraserhead.
Like, who has the time to do this? It's crazy. Like, I didn't get I mean, I knew he was, had a career, but I just, when you mentioned it, I just Googled it, and I didn't realize how crazy it is that he's constantly working. Like, there's not enough time in a day to do what this guy's done. You know what I'm saying?
Unrecorded Night, 13 episodes. The Weather Report. I don't even know what that is.
Right.
He does stuff that goes straight to fucking YouTube too, by the way. Weather Report series.
Oh yeah, because he's one of these guys. Because he's one of these guys that actually cares about the art. He's doing things because he wants to do them. You know what I'm trying to say? Everybody wants to make money or whatever, but he's not one of these people that he's made the money. He's not worried about that anymore. He's just kind of doing things that he finds enjoyable. He finds interesting to himself.
Okay, I know what the Weather Report is. The Weather Report is his daily weather report from Los Angeles. He does one every day.
Oh, he's doing it on his own kind of thing, like a podcast kind of thing.
Yeah, he's insane.
That's pretty cool.
151 episodes. What is David working on today? A series creator, 17 episodes. Twin Peaks. He does a whole mess of shorts. Anthead. What Did Jack Do? Which is a short where there's a monkey with a knife. David Byrne, comic card message. Meditation. Twin Peaks Festival greeting. Oh, my God. On the air.
Yeah. It's crazy. Wild at Heart. I didn't realize.
Highway, Hotel Room, Wild at Heart. Yeah. Mulholland Drive. Mulholland Drive. Great stuff.
Yeah, even that, that's a good movie, Mulholland Drive.
Yeah. People like it. Inland Empire.
After a car wreck, Amina sets out to learn what happened to her with the help of Wannabe. I remember this.
Yeah. Lots of films. He makes lots of wacky, fucking weird ass movies. And you know what? Thank God for David Lynch. Thank God there's people making crazy movies out there. Yay.
Right.
Um,
We need
all
more
right.
of them. I agree.
Can we? Do you want to talk about the Bond movie now? Can
What do
you?
you break it down? Break it down for the Bond people. I've heard a lot of different. I basically take a consensus of people at work. Okay, so let me see what you think about this.
Well, wait.
I've heard.
You're gonna tell me what you heard?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I
Okay.
heard. I'm gonna tell you. So I have diehard Bond people who have told me two things. There's no middle ground here, right? I'm hearing that they love the movie because they love like the action sequence or they love, the dark grittiness. And then I have the other side of the Bond people who are like, Daniel Craig is just too serious. He's just not embracing Bond enough. He doesn't like use Bond like the other guys, Sean Connery, for example. You go on the list. They knew they were Bond and they enjoyed being Bond. They played with being Bond, and he doesn't do it enough. And because of that, I'm just kind of tired of this guy's, being all mad at the world. So these are the two, and I've heard this from a couple of people, and I heard the other people talk about how they loved it. So now I don't hear a middle ground, and I talked to like 7 people about this. So what's your take, being that you're a couple of weeks removed at this point? Are you in the middle, or because you said you liked it, but you didn't break down, how much you liked it?
Okay. Well, let me talk about my experience with Bond first.
Right.
We can talk about that. I think everybody's allowed to have their opinion. First of all, if you don't like it, that's fine. If you like it, that's fine. But I don't ever come at something from the point of view of liking or not liking, because what's the point of that?
Right.
Spice it up a little bit. I grew up with Bond. Like, my father used to watch Bond on ABC. So I watched Dr. No 100 times. I watched From Russia with Love 100 times. The TV version.
Your dad loved those type of characters.
He loved 2 things. He loved 3 things,
Right.
actually.
Spaghetti westerns.
Spaghetti westerns, James Bond, and war movies. And of course, and Tom and Jerry cartoons. My mom and dad love Tom and Jerry cartoons because they're very violent, more violent than the Looney Tunes ones. And there's no need for you to understand any languages, because the language is an ass kicking. That's the language of Tom and Jerry, an ass kicking.
Though the frozen kitchen scene, the frozen episode when they freeze up the kitchen and they do ice skating, that's a great episode, by the way. Not much violence.
I love that
it's
one.
very, very elegant made.
It's
with the
fantastic.
The jellos turn into the lights.
Is you with my baby? That one's great too.
Right.
Anything involving the dog, anything involving Spike the dog, I'm there. Anything involving the little baby mouse, I'm there. Anybody, any kind of family member that shows up.
It came over, right? His little cousin or whatever it was, right?
Cambone, that was fantastic. All right.
Who was the strong guy? Remember, he used to roll up his sleeves. He was like, I get that.
The Bowery boy mouse.
Yeah. He used to go out. Where's that cat? Right. He's always looking for the cat.
That's where I got this from, by the way. It's from the guy with the derby.
Right.
So, right. I watched Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, and I didn't know it. Thunderball, all the Sean Connery movies. You Only Live Twice, and there was Diamonds Are Forever. So here's the thing. I loved all those movies. You Only Live Twice is my favorite. Sean Connery said after You Only Live Twice, I'm not doing Bond anymore. Later. After the initial 5 Bond movies. Goldfinger, of course, was fantastic. Thunderball is good. But You Only Live Twice is my favorite of the Connery movies. He leaves. And George Lazenby, who was a model actor, shows up, and he does for Her Majesty's Secret Service. And George Lazenby just did it for one movie. And in that movie, he finds the love of his life, and he fights Spectre, and she dies because Spectre comes for revenge. Right. And I think that they kind of based the Bond movies that Daniel Craig's on that Bond.
It is kind of, I can see where you're going with that.
Because George Lazenby is like, he's handsome and he's smart and he's actiony, but he's flat. Like, there isn't a whole lot of stuff behind his eyes. There isn't like this mirth that Sean Connery brings to the role, or that even worse, what's his name? Brings to the role, Roger Moore. I
Roger Moore.
never really liked the Roger Moore movies that much because he was kind of fun, like always kind of funny.
Right.
And and I've seen them all. Like I've seen them all many times. Live and Let Die. Okay, you know, kind of weird, but okay because the Live and Let Die. This is after Diamonds Are Forever. It's the '70s, 1973, and they have to kind of do something. And they're bringing bring up social contrast. There's a lot of, it's the whole idea of the black exploitation idea
Right.
of movies that is kind of like coming up, and they have to they're trying to go in that direction. So, the best thing about Live and Let Die was the song, and Kananga, of course, who was the villain, played by Yaphet Kotto. Yeah. Um, then The Man with the Golden Gun, The Spy
Right.
Who Loved Me, which was the one of the Bond movies that actually won an Academy Award for Best Picture. The remake of and The Spy Who Loved Me and You Only Live Twice they're actually remakes, and so is Moonraker. Moonraker is a remake
Moonraker.
of You Only Live Twice, and then For Your Eyes Only, and then it's kind of like this drop of movies where they're just not good. For
Right.
Your Eyes Only was not a good movie. Octopussy was not a good movie. There is a Sean Connery shows up in Never Say Never Again that isn't even a Broccoli Bond movie. The Broccolis are the ones that made the Bond movies. And then they sued them to stop from making it, but they made it anyway. And then the last Roger Moore movie was A View to a Kill, which has one of the best Bond songs of all time. Not the best, one of the best by Duran Duran. Timothy Dalton made 2 Bond movies after that.
Not a fan of Timothy Dalton. Sounds like you're
Still-
skipping over this guy.
Who? Pierce Brosnan?
You're skipping over Timothy Dalton as if
Not.
whatever.
There's nothing to say. Both movies suck. Felix Slider was in them. Okay. And then Goldfinger, GoldenEye was the beginning of the Pierce Brosnan movies that were okay.
Yeah.
They weren't terrible. The best one was Tomorrow Never Dies, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
Nothing really stands out with his characters.
Both sucked. And that's it. So you get this kind of moving around, and Pierce Brosnan brings his own take on Bond, where he's kind of he's running a lot. He runs a lot.
Yes. It's true. It's true. You're right. He's more action, right. Right.
The best one was Tomorrow Never Dies because again, a remake of the best Bond movie, You Only Live Twice, and The Spy Who Loved Me. All right. So then you get to you take this long break of 4 years. When is Casino Royale? Casino Royale.
2006.
2006. So Casino Royale, 4 years between Die Another Day and Casino Royale. And Casino Royale is a departure because Daniel Craig's Bond and all whatchamacallits and all whatever is a motherfucker. This guy is a motherfucker. He's an unstoppable killing machine. The stuff they do to him in that movie is pretty ridiculous. If you haven't seen any Casino Royale, you should. And they basically restart the Bond franchise with a brand new guy from the beginning. He's just, to me, he's slick. He's cool. He's he has a verve to him. He has this thing to him that he does that's really great. And he's just a good Bond. And the story for this Bond movie kind of starts with him falling in love with a woman and that woman dying because she had secrets. It kind of sets the stage for this guy, for Bond, and he kind of loves him and leaves him until Inspector, where he falls in love with another woman, and she's connected to all these secrets of Spectre. And he gets. And by the way, Blofeld, the leader of Spectre, is James Bond's skiing instructor's son, who gets taken in by the family. You see what I'm going? What the fuck?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But this is the revenge plot of this. So Inspector, we find out about Blofeld. He captures Blofeld. He basically destroys Spectre, but there's something else happening. And in No Time to Die, we find out that there's something else happening. The woman he falls in love with has a pact with some other dude. There's secrets here, and Bond gets involved with trying to save her. And the action sequences are great, but the emotional kind of like weight of the movie is what got me. Bond quit being 007. He's like, fuck this shit. Moves to Jamaica, smokes and drinks, fishes for his dinner. In the first few minutes we see him walking to his in the first part of the movie, we see him walking into his hut with this giant fish, like, hey, my fish. Gonna make some fish now. And he gets drawn back because of this particular thing that's happening. This particular storyline where it's about poison and poisoning and all this other stuff.
Right.
Really cool. And the action sequences are great. The emotional depth of the movie is great, and it's kind of like a swan song for this character, this version of Bond, but it's done so well that I just had to clap at the end. There wasn't a lot of people in the theater because nobody comes to the theater anymore on Thursday nights. It's fine with me. And it's just like great action sequences paired with really great direction and really great cinematography and just a good movie. It's just a good movie. And I don't want to give anything away. I really haven't given anything away, but it's fun. It has these fun moments, has these heavy moments too, and it's better than Spectre and as good as Skyfall, which I think Skyfall out of the ones that we just talked about. I think Casino Royale in my heart is like the best one of all of them because it just does something for me. But
right.
And Quantum of Solace is the best throwback to the original Bond series because it just has that feel.
Right.
It has one of the best, to me, one of the best action sequences, the best car chases in the series. The beginning of A Quantum of Solace has a great car chase. And, then you have Skyfall, which is a really good movie. And then Spectre kind of falls off, but No Time to Die picks it up. So if you like Bond, and you like Daniel Craig as Bond, don't miss this one. See it in the theater. Trust me, it's worth it.
So they say this is Daniel Craig's last movie. Did they set it up to make another Bond without Craig, or is it? Or they kind of just
Daniel Craig's last movie as Bond.
Right, but did they set it up so that we know it's his last movie?
Oh yeah, we know it's his last movie.
Okay.
The definitive end to Daniel Craig.
Gotcha.
I'll tell you what it is. But he
right.
ain't Bond no more. Well, he's Bond. He's Bond.
Right.
He'll continue to be Bond somewhere, but he's not Bond he's not going to be James Bond anymore in the series. This was it.
Gotcha.
And by the way, there was between Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, there was 2 years, and then Skyfall took 4 years before Skyfall came out, and then Spectre was another 3, and then we waited the longest for No Time to Die, and I think that 6 years, but I think it was because it was supposed to come out last year, and
it's because of COVID, monkey wrench and stuff. Right.
I was looking forward to this movie for a long fucking time since they first showed the trailer in November of 2019. I was like, holy fuck, because it was going to come out in March or early summer 2020, and COVID. But the trailer is fantastic. And the last trailer, the final trailer that came out back in March, I was like, wow, dude.
You're a trailers guy. You seem to sometimes you like the trailer better than the movies at times.
Yes.
You love the art of the trailer making.
Because we have the ability to create a crazy ass good trailer now.
Right.
We just have the ability. And the fact that people in the marketing business were like, why are we making these shitty trailers?
Right.
And now one man, that kind of thing.
In a world.
Can't stay long.
Right. We got some kiddie things to do. We got a few more minutes. So now that we broke down Dune, we broke down Bond. let's break down the first episode now that I'm getting into Squid Games. I saw the first episode based on your, saying I had to see it. So I saw the first episode. I'll probably binge in this weekend after I watch Dune, so we can really break everything down next week.
What'd you think?
But I mean, I enjoyed it. It wasn't, I haven't formed an opinion yet because the characters are still building in this one and we're still kind of meeting characters. But the essence of the movie, I enjoyed. I like the kind of like, Cobra Commander type guy that's kind of like, or Destro type of guy that's, drinking his tequila, whatever he was, while people are dying. So I enjoyed that part of it to find out what's going on with him. But it's another thing that when I go to work, people either love it or they hate it. They either think it's great because it's like, it's on the edge of their seat, or people hate the acting and they just, can't deal with it after a couple episodes. So I'm still not at that part yet. So far I thought it was interesting. I do like the idea of using these type of characters, and I'm a fan when it comes to shows and movies of the down and out guy, right? The person who has no chance in life, and how does he redeem himself? How do you get off the mat and you create something out of nothing, right? I've always enjoyed that aspect of movies because, in life, I even in sports, I'm an underdogs guy. Like I like the Mets, I'm a Giants fan, but Giants were great, but like they haven't done anything. Like I'm not like the Yankee guy, the America's team guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm the underdog guy in everything,
You're not a fan of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, exactly. Can't stand the Cowboys, not a Yankee
They suck
guy.
though. That's the thing that I love about the Cowboys. They fucking suck. So when people say like, "Oh, Dallas Cowboys," I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." Dallas
Right.
Cowboys.
No, I agree with you. It's nonsense.
I'd rather be a Rams fan or a Raiders fan. I'd rather be a Raiders fan than a Dallas. Anything better than Dallas Cowboys.
But the Raider fans have their own world, so that's
St. Louis
I
Cardinals.
like that about them. You know what I'm saying? Right. The Cardinals are consistent.
Arizona Cardinals. You still call the Cardinals?
Yeah, the Cardinals.
The Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals.
But I like that. So because of that, this show has so far gripped me because you have a guy who's down and out. He's trying to save his family in a sense, and he's trying to do well. But he's probably just doesn't know how. You know what I'm trying to say? And how does he get out of this? And he finds a quick way, or at least a way that he thinks is going to be a quick way out when it comes to these games. And now he's stuck in a situation where he's like, this could be the end of my life at this point. You know what I'm trying to say? So just to see that dynamic, I've always found interesting. So because of that, I'm gripped. It doesn't have to be, the violence hasn't, people complain about the violence, but I was like, oh, people getting shot and whatever. And I'm like, it's part of the genre. Once you watch it, you signed up for it. If you don't want to, just click it off. You know what I'm trying to say? So let's So I enjoyed it. I enjoy the aspect of it. I enjoyed the mother, treating her son like he's nothing, like get off your feet, let's do something kind of thing. So far the characters are interesting. Now, you've seen how many episodes so far?
I watched the whole thing.
Oh, you saw the whole thing, and there's like 8 of them, right?
9.
It's like 8 or 10, something like that.
9.
In that range.
Like it's a weird number.
So when do we find, I'm gonna watch, like I said, this way. So and I'm not the type of guy who gets upset if anything gets told to me. When do we know who Destro is? Do we know in episode 5? Is that what we know?
No, you don't know until much later.
Oh, really?
Destro.
So they keep it.
You're talking about the guy with the mask who's running everything, right?
right.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude. By the way, the Jets been sucking. Wow.
Yes.
Crap. I don't watch football. You know why I don't watch football, right?
Right.
I don't watch football.
You were big into it at one point.
Yeah, fuck that. I just don't run a man out of his because he's on his knee. You got to fucking run him out of fucking football. Fuck you. It's no longer, to me. It's no longer a player's game, right? It's an owner's game. And if the owners are gonna do that, like if that happened in New York, right? Do you think he'd still have a job?
See, when it comes to this, you have to understand this. You have to understand this. Not to get, to say if it was wrong or right, because you mentioned the owners. The owners are their own little. In the NFL, the owners have always been their own world. Like they've literally have been from the top to the bottom. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So the owners are always looking at what they think is going to be the bottom line. This is how the NFL has always run. So basically, they're always kind of observing and they're trying to keep their finger on the pulse, what they think is the pulse. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying what they think. And they took a stance basically thinking that, this is their market. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, the thing is, football and the dynamics of football, the people who are watching it is changing. So I think they got caught in a crosshairs at that point, and they didn't know where to go, and they kind of like, trying to figure out a way out of it. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm not saying it's right or wrong because I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that football has always tried to be one step ahead when it comes to the money because that's what they care about in football. So they've always tried to understand what people thought would be the thing and then kind of hope things got to brush to the side. And this was just one of those stories that wasn't being swept under the rug. You know what I'm just saying? They just didn't know how to handle it at that point. It just kind of took a life of its
They
own.
also had the biggest fucking asshole in the world yelling about taking him out and whatever. I kind of find it really offensive.
But that happened. But that happened before. That happened. I'm sorry. That the Trump thing happened after. I'm talking about football in general and how they've always dealt with things. Football has always treated the players as if we control you. That's just the way they done it. They don't have a strong players union in football. They can cut you and not pay you anything, without thinking twice about it. So they've always had this, we have control over you. So and when a situation like this happens, they're looking at what can we do to silence the situation as quickly as possible. And they took a route thinking that's what the pulse of the people that were watching wanted to see. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I have issue with that. I don't want.
It's not a fair system because the players don't have enough power in the NFL.
There's also kind of like I don't have like regular TV anymore. Like I have
right.
I cut my cord, so unless I have to put an antenna out. Although I can get a live TV through Roku if I want it.
Right.
I watched the Super Bowl on
let's say this. Let's take a step back. Is it because football is still heavy TV market? It's still ABC, NBC, Fox type thing. Is that really the reason? Because and I say this because of this, because when the whole thing came up with Kaepernick and Trump and everything, there was this idea that this was what was hurting ratings, but there were other factors that people said was hurting the ratings, and one of them is what you said: people aren't watching Fox and HBO and CBS and these networks anymore. So it's fragmented. Now the audience is so fragmented, nobody's just sitting there watching football on Sundays all day unless you're a diehard. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So you think that has something to do with it? And then this thing happened and it just drove you over the edge kind of thing? Like you just kind of stopped looking at the interest?
I was interested in watching football. I wasn't super interested anymore, but it wasn't because... Okay. I had other shit happening. It wasn't just because of that. It was like Sundays was a problem for me to sit down and see anything.
Right.
Now it's not the same thing. I can just go to a fucking bar and watch it, whatever. But and I wouldn't mind. Like I'm gonna start watching hockey, I think.
Right. No, hockey's an intense sport. Yes. The best playoff sport is hockey. Yeah. It's just intense, for the whole 3 periods.
And European football, I think. But
yeah, I mean, if you go through that, yes, but that's different intense. That's more of like national, pride but just a pure sport, just what you do and just sliding on the ice. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say?
Hockey's cool.
Going 20 miles per hour is crazy.
But I want to get into hockey. I want to like go to the and see the wherever they are. I think they play. I don't know if they play in the Meadowlands anymore. But the Devils play. Oh, the Devils played in Newark. So I go to.
Yeah, they play in Newark.
Right. The Devils maybe once or twice and see what's up.
Right.
Because I wouldn't mind it. It's a game. It's fun. Live hockey is better than sitting at home and watching it. Actually.
Right.
And I'm actually, believe it or not, although I grew up in New York, I really don't like the Rangers. Or the Islanders, for that matter, because their fans are dicks. The Ranger fan and the Islander fans are dicks. So there's that. So back to Squid Game really quickly. All the things you said are completely 100% valid. I completely agree with that. I like to understand. I'd rather be watching somebody like who's the underdog win. There is a lot of shit in Squid Game that doesn't talk about. It talks about the social structure more that made me kind of angry, of course, because I'm a fucking bleeding heart liberal. And I'm beginning to think like the idea of the bleeding heart is like, oh, you just want to blood. I hear these things from people now. For example, I'm watching a show called Secession. Have you been watching the show Secession?
I have seen. I haven't seen all of like the whole thing, but I've seen it. Yes.
You've seen the first season?
Yeah, I've seen a couple episodes. That's what I'm saying.
I've seen all the first season. I'm into the second. I'm going into the second season. I don't know. Tonight I might even go either see Dune or watch some Secession
Right.
to catch up with it because it's a good show. Maybe I'll watch
Yeah.
Dune tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but Secession and Squid Game kind of gives you an understanding of how people are fucking broke. Like I said, you and I have jobs. We're making money. We're doing whatever. It's working. But there are people who aren't, and the people who aren't,
Right.
working, guys who working at McDonald's for 7 50 an hour. That's not real money. It's like not
Right.
money. And the thing about Squid Game that's interesting is, it's that way for the people in this thing. They're millions of dollars, millions of own in debt. Own is Korean money.
Right.
And Korean money is different from American money. There's like the movie Parasite. If you haven't seen the movie Parasite, has a similar understanding of that.
Right. Right.
Where people need fucking money, and it's hard. So they have that kind of weird situation that's happening, and they're trying to, he's trying his best to do whatever he wants, and you hear his story, which is, he had a business and that fell down, and he had this and
Right.
that didn't work, and then he had that, and now he's basically trying to hedge his bets and make money gambling,
Right.
and that doesn't really work either because the house always wins, right?
Right.
So it's that kind of thing, and then you put yourself in this situation where, and I think in Squid Game, didn't they say something like, even if you die, someone gets paid, or something?
Yes. Right. Right, because at this point, even in the first episode, he gave away his health rights. So basically, they're gonna take his kidneys and stuff. If
Right.
at one point,
They take his kidneys,
right?
and that part of the story is kind of fucked up. So
Well, it is because it happens in real life. I mean, there's farms with this kind of stuff, and underground markets. It's crazy that this world exists, but it does exist in some capacities.
Well, I mean,
So
they did a breakthrough today by putting a pig's kidney in somebody recently,
right,
and that person is okay. So that might be the way to go because pigs and humans genetically are pretty close together. I know that sounds really weird, but it's true. Pigs' livers and pig kidneys is probably going to be the thing they're going to be doing next. They're going to genetically farm pigs to have kidneys that we can use, and I know, but it's what it is. For the future, man. Here comes the future.
it's all about the spice.
It's all about the spice. Spice is life. Linear fear and all that shit. So yeah, so I understand it. I don't want to give anything away. The stuff that happens, and I mean, you saw the first one with everybody's seen it with the kid, the robot. That's
Yeah, the robot girl.
and it's like, oh, freeze, and then if you don't freeze, you get fucking machine gunned to death. And kids, it's been like it came out in August. If you haven't seen it by now, after
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. I never get
all the
upset
shit
when
that's
people
on
give
social
me.
media and all the stuff that's on Saturday Night Live, come on.
By the way, just mentioning what you mentioned, I just Googled Squid Games, and the first thing that pops up from a CBS News article is South Korean workers channel Squid Games to protest their real life economic woes. So maybe that's why it's hitting a certain pulse. I'm just saying with people with what's going on now with COVID and the world as we see it, people are just kind of looking at it like maybe it's not my life, but it's a reflection of something that's going on, and that's probably part of it.
Like, why aren't people working? Because I don't want to fucking work for. I don't want to be in a dangerous situation for $10 an hour.
Right. They also say this the PlayStation masks are like the hottest costume for Halloween, they say. So don't be surprised somebody comes to your house with the X and O's
jackets and whatever.
Right.
Well, if you could buy one of those. I mean, those things look pretty comfortable, actually. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So there's a lot of the tests that happen are pretty fucked up. I would like to hear what you have to say after you see them all. But yeah, Squid Game was an interesting show.
Yeah. I should be finished by the time we talk. That and that Dune, we should have a nice little show next week breaking down the world of pop culture.
Notice I was staying away from politics. Steve Bannon going to jail. Can't wait. Trump's
See, the
really
thing is,
scared.
this is the thing. This is the thing about that. We just two things about that. First, we have a lot of different interests. It's not just politics. Number one,
Yeah.
but number two is that when you want to talk about politics, we're in a weird time where things are so hitting you so fast that what you talk about today kind of loses relevance tomorrow because things are just so fast. So you kind of have to group them in you know kind of time. You know what I'm trying to say? You kind of have to group them by taking a step back and seeing how things evolve. Because you could say something today that means nothing tomorrow because tomorrow the world is constantly on its head. At least that's just the feel that you have now when it comes to politics and the world in general. It's just kind of like we're getting so much information. We're getting so many different, ideas being thrown at us at different times because of social media, because of, shows and everything that we have in our fingertips, that there's no water cooler talk anymore. You know what I'm trying to say? Because the water cooler is replaced by Twitter that's, replaced by somebody tweeting 10 seconds later. So it's hard to make it consistent every day. Because it's no, I get it. It's because it's hard to make consistent every day because it moves so fast. So the Steve Bannon story is big right now, right? So the House basically said, he should come in based on a subpoena, but really it means nothing until the Justice Department makes their choice. You know what I'm trying to say? So we have to wait to see what that happens. So this slow moving kind of information really is so lightning quick that you can't keep up with it. But probably next week at this time, Steve Bannon might be jumping to South America. Who knows? You know what I'm trying to say? You just don't know because it moves so quickly. So that's the weird thing about it.
Big stories today was that and Jim Jordan not being able to answer the questions.
Right.
And also, I sent you that thing about our favorite senator Manchin maybe leaving the Democratic Party, and
right.
Kristen Sinema, 5 people that are ex-army walked out of her, like quit because they feel that she's blocking stuff. So
yeah,
I mean we're fucked, and we slice it. And also, Colin Powell died.
Yeah, that's a.
Colin Powell.
I mean, that's one of.
About, man.
What said again? That you have what about?
Colin Powell. I have mixed feelings about him, man.
I know. I know.
Rough,
I know.
It's hard.
When you look at his bio and everything he has accomplished, just everything he accomplished, you say, "Wow, this guy is like, you can't get, any better than this guy." And then the whole Iraq thing comes into play, and then it kind of like changes people's opinions and thoughts, and you might like him, or you might hate him based on it. So it's kind of crazy how that situation changed your perception of this guy's past and history. You know what I'm trying to say?
He also covered up during Vietnam. He covered up a massacre by American troops. So. I get it. It's the culture of the American Army. I get it. It's generational and all this other crap, but it's sad because he died from COVID complications. He was like in his 80s. He died from COVID complications, and
that story is a perfect example of what I just mentioned. Colin Powell 20 years ago, if the same thing would have happened, would have been a story for a week. You know what I'm trying to say? You would have talked about it for a week. It would have been dissecting everything, his career, dissecting what happened in, the UN at the time, going to war and all that. That would have been dissected. That was dissected maybe for an afternoon. You know what I'm trying to say? And then they moved on to something else. So the news just changes so much that you can't keep the pulse on it unless you're doing it like, every hour or something. You know what I'm trying to say? It just becomes crazy to try to figure it all out.
Mm-hmm. It's rough.
It really is rough in that sense.
So,
like we can sit here and do a show on Colin Powell and it would mean nothing, 2 hours later because the news has changed so dramatically. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's why it's kind of like that's why the one constant is what we've been talking about lately, which is kind of like this pop culture entertainment wall. That's the one constant that seems to have some type of a shelf life. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. Which is crazy because you have so much information on your fingertips. You have so many different shows, but that seems to be the one thing that lingers and it's talked about more while the other things are just people reacting. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're trying to say, and it's very interesting. Last week's show was really good, guys, and if you haven't seen it, because it was our special,
Ted Lasso show.
Ted Lasso special was actually a lot of fun, and we actually left stuff out of it. There was even more stuff to talk about. We left out.
Right. We got to do Ted Lasso Part 2 one day.
And the unfortunate thing is that only seven people have seen it, and I think that's a shame.
Right.
So good.
How many people?
7.
7? Yes. We love you, 7 people.
Our average is about 7 people. Man. There's people I'm dating that want to watch this show. I don't have time. I'm like, all right, I know. Maybe you do.
They don't have time yet.
I don't have time.
Exactly.
I post it on Facebook and hope for the best. But
next week,
the fun of this is just being here with you because you crack me the fuck up.
It's just enjoying each other's company and trying to make life, trying to understand the craziness of this world we live in at this point.
And coming up with buckets. All right. That's it.
So next week, Dune, Squid Games, and the song of the week, from what I've heard, Duran Duran, the Bond song.
Oh, the Bond song. You do a kill. And that movie, by the way, had Duran Duran song, Christopher Walken as Zorn, the bad guy, and Grace Jones.
Grace Jones. Can't go wrong with Grace Jones.
Conan the Destroyer.
Right. And she came up at work the other day because we were talking about Boomerang. Wasn't she in Boomerang with Eddie Murphy?
Was. Pull up to the bumper.
Yeah, she came
movie,
up. Yeah.
By the way, maybe Eddie Murphy's best movie, I think.
Not a bad movie. I agree with you. Not a bad movie at all.
Good movie. It talks about relationships and feet.
I remember when he made that movie, him saying at the time, "This is the type of movies I want to make." I guess he got tired of the 48 Hours kind of Beverly Hills Cop. He wanted to make something that had it was funny but has a kind of social kind of impact. And I guess in some
what was his next movie after that movie?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So that was my point.
Way, he made so much money with that movie. With his remake of Nutty Professor, that movie was such a fucking big hit, and it was a big hit forever. Like in the theater, at home, on home video, on TBS and TNT or whatever, forever. He was on TV. That movie was on TV always, and The Clumps just as big as a hit.
And Clumps was good too, right?
We can make fun of Eddie Murphy as he counts his money,
right? And he racked up with Disney money. He wrapped up with Disney money with those haunted house movies and stuff. You think they were kind of cheesy?
And the thing is that when he did stop making movies and he took a break, it's because he just didn't need to. Like he doesn't.
Right. He just makes money. Yeah.
The sequel of Coming to America was actually
the one that just came out.
The one that came out. It was going to come out in the theaters and ended up going to Amazon, and Amazon paid him a pretty penny to have it in there. I got to tell you, completely cool, 100%.
Yeah.
I had no problem with it. It was fun.
It was all right. Yeah. It was what it was.
All right, folks.
All right. Next week.
What's his name? Also known as
Dune Squid Games.
See, Squid Games. Next week, Squid Games, Dune, Squid Games. Some other movies. We'll talk about stuff.
Right. Life.
Right. Life. Have a good one, folks.
Enjoy.
Go.